Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to a PvT StarCraft 2 Hunt of the Swarm replay that I'll be bringing to you today from one of our new ladder maps, Frost, which is actually, I think it's alright. I actually downvoted it because I don't like cannon rushing on this map, and sometimes I like to just go out there and just cannon rush everybody, so it's actually not the greatest of maps for that, I've found, but then again, I'm not actually the master of that. But let's have a look at our players that we've got here today. They are two local players from the C region over here in Australia, and they are having a little bit of practice on just, you know, one of the off days, just sort of talking about what's going on actually. But up here in the top left-hand side is the clan leader of mGG, the metagame gods. It is Alpha. And his opponent and teammate down here in the bottom left-hand side, our blue Terran player, Titan. Now, just to make sure no one's confused as I initially was when I got this replay, this is not Titan from America. Obviously, he's a Zerg player, so it can't be him. And it's not Titan from Russia, because he's a Protoss player, so it can't be him either. So, yeah, this is yet another Titan. So don't worry, guys. We've got all the Titans going on down here. I think we've covered the globe with Titans. We've got one in sort of Eastern Europe. We've got one in the C region, and then of course we've got one over in NA as well. But yeah, these two players, really good players over in the C region. I think we're on the Korean server, perhaps, with practice at the moment, and these two are both up in High Masters, if I remember correctly. So there's going to be some good action here today. Of course, let's talk about Frost, our map that is... It's a pretty well-structured map. I think one of the reasons that it was actually put into the map pool was just simply because it's it has a really nice structure to it. The third base, you know, you've got your natural here. It can be all nicely set up and walled off. As a Protoss player, as a Terran player, you can do a similar sort of thing as well. The third's a little bit further away, but not too far, and it's not blocked by rocks or anything like that, which could make you know, a little bit difficult for Zerg players. So it's always good to have that there. But one big thing about this map that some people aren't always, well, they don't always know about it, but the rush distances actually change quite a lot based on where you spawn. Because of these little ramps here, they can help you get around not only stealthily, but they can sort of decrease attack times, if you will. I believe like the cross positions attack time, if we were going to go from there over to here, is it's about 10 or is it 15 seconds longer than if you were or something. I think it's like 10 seconds longer or something like that, as opposed to going vertical or horizontal. So it can, you know, it can change things in terms of the matchup. It's not something massively different about the map, kind of like how Korhal Sky Island was, where that was a map where things just massively changed based on where you spawn. But it's still something that adds a little bit of intrigue to watching these kinds of games. But as we can see here, Titan is going to go for a Rax CC and then a very fast third CC as well, basically straight after he has set up his first CC down on the low ground at the natural. Meanwhile, for Alpha, we've got a 1 gas, 1 gate expansion here. We can see that he is going to force away that SCV, but he did get to see exactly what he wanted to, which was that Nexus. Of course, it is always good to get in here and scout out what the gas is doing, but evidently Titan did not want to sacrifice that SCV just to see that kind of thing. But as you can see, both the players just content to expand for the moment. So while they're going on about that, what I'll go on about is, of course, you know, you can jump onto my stream. I have been streaming a lot more lately, doing Dota 2, StarCraft 2, CSGO as well, playing a little bit of CSGO, trying to actually learn how to play that game a bit better. I'm actually quite terrible at it, as I'm sure many people who have seen the stream will remember. But yeah, jump on board and come say hello on twitch.tv/duckvillelol, and you can catch me streaming regularly. If you know your time zones, it's normally at 7 p.m. at Australian Eastern Standard Time, which at the moment is actually, because we're in daylight savings, it's actually a little bit later than that, but around about that kind of time on just about every weekday. So I am always trying to do some streaming so that we can have some more interactions. I do try and give away some, game keys and things like that. We did a Hearthstone key giveaway a little while ago, and we've had quite a few Steam game keys that I do like to just throw out there every now and then for people who are tuning in. So, if you're on the lookout for a couple of new games, perhaps you can catch something like that. But as we can see, our players have been ramping things up. Production is now about to kick into gear here for Titan. He's got the factory on the way. We can see that the tech lab, the first of what I would assume is a couple, and of course he'll have a couple of reactors too, is now just on the way. Needs to get that stim, researching as quickly as possible so that he does have enough of those powerful Marines and Marauders here. Meanwhile, for Alpha, we've got a Forge and the Robo all over in his main base. He's got an observer on the way. One thing which we have been seeing quite a lot lately is Protoss players really investing heavily in their observers. You can if you can put out a lot of observers on the map, you can keep an eye on exactly what is going on, and it can be really, really powerful as to how you detect things coming in. Of course, on this map, there's a couple of different routes that medevacs can take. You can come in through the side and drop off here in the natural, or you can continue on forwards up towards the main base. But there is certainly quite a decent deal of space to drop in on this base. There's all sorts of ways that you can come through. There's even a lot of space at the front here. You can see there's still a little bit here that can be also exposed. So it's always good to be very careful and very protective on this map of those various entrances, whether you're Terran, whether you're Zerg, or whether you're a Protoss as well. It's always a good idea to at least keep some sort of eye on what's going on. And Alpha's going to do exactly that with his +1 to armor on the way. We can see that he does have the Robo Bay. He's got a couple of extra little bits of tech on the way. The Twilight Council just finishing up now. We can probably expect him to get Blink, given this particular style of play that he is going for. He's just going to go for quite a few of these Stalkers here. We'll see a few Zealots at the front, and then a Colossus will be popping out momentarily. Just chrono boosting a few more of those observers so we can keep an eye on what's going on. And this is exactly what I'm talking about, covering off these various pathways that there are around the map. You can keep an eye on your front door as well, and not to mention, this one is very important. You want to know, when is that Terran moving out? When is he going to be, moving out from his position? If you can somehow get a little bit of an eyeball on what's going on at the third base, that is also quite handy, but not necessarily required so much, but it's definitely quite handy. So the game is going to just continue on at a very passive pace. Both players just still continuing to get all of their structures up and running. Templar Archives down at the back here for Alpha. We can see that the Forge is just about to finish up with his +1 to weapons. There is also now going to be a drop inside the natural base, actually spotted by the observer of Alpha down here on the left-hand side. It can't actually see the medevacs just now, but if they do decide to come back across to the left-hand side, he may be able to find out what's going on. But all of this is just a bit of a distraction. I don't think Titan wants to commit too hard to this. He's just picking up his third base here, wants to see what his opponent is capable of doing. We can see a couple of Zealots at the front. Mothership Core has still got money. She's got energy for a Photon Overcharge as well. But here is the first Colossus. Is that going to go down? Alpha a little bit out of position there. The Blink Stalkers, or the Stalkers, of course, unfortunately not able to do too much to this, and one of the medevacs actually very, very low. Titan extremely lucky to have that one still alive here, but we can see that he's just going to do a little bit of damage while getting his own economy established. And sniping off that Colossus is actually quite nice. It gives him a little bit more time for possible pushes. Of course, Protoss players have been known to sort of send out some various two-base pushes with a couple of Colossi, sort of faking a third base. But of course, this is not going to happen here with Alpha. He's a very safe sort of sturdy kind of player who does he does bring out some really interesting tactics in various matchups. Like in PvZ, he loves to grab some carriers, and these are the sort of types of things that I do expect to see from Alpha here. I don't think you'll get carriers in this matchup, but he certainly does love to get them. Meanwhile, for Titan, of course, very stock standard himself here with the Marine, Medevac, and Marauder all coming out. We don't really see any additional sort of extra little bits of weird tech just yet. We can see that there is a second eBay on the way, along with the armory as well, to make sure that he can pick up the +2 on his weapons and armor for those infantry units. So that'll be coming along very soon. The upgrade tally actually at the moment is sitting relatively evenly. We can see +1 on armor here for Alpha. He's chrono boosting all of the +1 on weapons and 2 to armor on the way, along with charge also coming through. So he's got quite a lot also coming out, and that's going to give him a nice position. Of course, when you get to PvT, when it comes to the macro stages of this game, you move forwards past the 20-minute mark, the 25-minute mark, things start to get a little bit dicey for Terran. You've got Storms that can wreak havoc all over Bio armies. You've got the Colossi starting to really ramp up in their numbers, and then of course Archons and Stalkers and Blink Stalkers, and even a DT every now and then can be quite painful to deal with. So Titan needs to be careful. I would like to see him perhaps just maybe try and run in and see if he can get some extra damage done, or maybe even just force out a Photon Overcharge of this Mothership Core. You don't really want to have a Mothership Core at full health all the time. It's a little bit scary because it means that your drops are just a lot more ineffectual than they would be, just simply because the Mothership Core can move across, Photon Overcharge up, and just protect the position where the drop would normally be going into. So we can see here that Alpha is very protective of the high ground here. You're wondering what these cannons are here for. You know, you might be like, well, what's all this about? This is a little bit odd. He's keeping an eye on the high ground here so that there can be no sort of attacks from this position, which certainly could do a lot of damage. So that's why we've got these cannons up here. But we can see that Titan is going to try and drop inside the natural base here. One of the medevacs gets annihilated straight away. Some of the units on the ground now quite a bit exposed because the medevac is gone, but Titan not done yet. He's going to take down one of the pylons there. Alpha sending back these charge lots. They've got their +2 on their armor, so they do soak up quite a lot of damage, and that was a pretty ineffectual drop here from Titan. But all the while, he's been able to ramp up his own economy. We can see here's a worker count currently sitting at 81 SCV. It's not too bad at all. He's now got Ghosts starting to pop out with their EMPs, and of course their Mobius reactor will be done soon. But key here is the EMP. It allows you to drop down some of that very disruptive electromagnetic pulse all over the Stalkers, but in particular the Archons and the Colossi. If you can drop down their health, if you can get rid of these shields, that can really expose Protoss technology. It's alarming how much in common it actually has with that Independence Day movie where they take down the shields and then they're able to take down the aliens. But, oh, spoiler, just in case you haven't seen a movie from like 1994. But here we go. Titan is going to move forward. I'm not sure about that. It's a little bit dicey to roll into that army here. He is maxed out, but unfortunately, like, his positioning is just a little bit perplexing at the moment. He's trying to push forwards with his Vikings. Takes out an observer. Nicely done there. But you can see that this is not the greatest of positions for Titan to be coming in for. We've got this tiny little spot here that can be used to funnel some of those Terran units, and now Alpha is going to move through the bottom side. We're going to see him dive right into the battle there. The Zealots charging forward. We're going to soak up some of the damage. The Stalkers are going to try and target down some of the Vikings. The Storm will go down as well. Another few Storms on top of the army, actually doing a huge amount of damage, especially to the medevacs here. You can see all of these medevacs are starting to get quite low. The Templar also a little bit worrisome. What are these guys doing? Going to throw down a protective storm, but Alpha will come out on top out of that battle. I mean, his army supply is a little bit lower than his opponents, but this is simply because Titan actually has, of course, a little bit more ineffectual army. When it comes to the efficiency of units, you look at Protoss and you say, all right, Colossi, they are wonderful at dealing efficient damage. They do the splash damage. They do a whole heap of damage when it comes down to it. Of course, 2 attacks of 19 damage. Then you've got the High Templar, if used correctly, are very efficient. They throw down their storms and do all sorts of havoc when it comes to you know, tearing apart armies. And we can see here that Alpha is going to pick up a 4th base. So he is looking to really take this out to a macro game here. Titan, a couple of his own little macro command centers there, going to lift up and move across to his own 4th base. But this is the point where most Terrans do start to switch into a very, very high ghost count. We can see that there are 7 ghosts at a time now coming out for Titan. So he's going to have a lot of power here. Not only power literally, but also he can just, if he's got his cloak, does he have it? I don't think. Yeah, he does have cloak actually, so you can cloak up, and it's surprising how effectual that Cloak Ghost can be. If you can snipe out observers, they can just do all sorts of nasty little things there when they're cloaked up. So here we go, good EMPs from Titan. Takes down 2 of those Templar, or 3 of the Templar in fact, so he is forced to switch over into an Archon, but across to the side, here comes Alpha with his Stalkers, his Zealots, the 2 Colossi that are there as well. And we're going to see if he's going to be able to get enough damage done here to make this all worth it. It's a little bit of a dicey position here. We can see that Alpha does lose one of his Colossus. Another one is about to go down. The Storms are thrown down on top of the Ghost. Very nicely done. The Ghosts will stick around for a while, and of course the medevacs will heal them up, but it looks as if our Terran player came out the victor in that particular battle. He took down some Colossi, got rid of a couple of the Templar as well, not to mention quite a lot of the Zealots that were on the ground as well. But now we can see that Alpha is getting prepared for possible, mass production here of the Colossi, 2 at a time now starting to come out. What I would love to see out of him here is actually the addition of a couple of Stargates. One thing that I really love seeing in late game PvT is the slow addition of Tempest, but also an Oracle every now and then. Revelation is just incredible when it comes to keeping an eye on what your opponent is up to. At this point of the game, Terran players are very diligent about scanning, trying to find observers and keeping them off their armies so that you can never know where they're going. And this is one thing that Oracles can really help out with. You can drop down a Revelation on top of the Vikings and, know where they are so that you can keep your Stalkers in a protective position within Colossi, or you can throw down the Revelation on the actual army itself and keep an eye on what's going on with that. But here we go, Snipe's coming forward from Titan, he's moving up to the high ground. I do like this positioning here from him. He's just going to snipe out some of the buildings, keep himself in a protective position. Templar down to the back, but here comes Alpha. Charge lots at the front. They've got 302 on their upgrades right now. The Colossus are getting absolutely annihilated by the Vikings, but the Vikings will slowly fall down themselves. Wonderful storm on top of the cloaked ghost there from Alpha, and he takes out quite a lot of the units. There is still one ghost here. He has very little energy. Down it goes, and there you go. So that is been a bit of trading between these two players at the moment. We can see that Alpha is prepared for some possible run-by attacks. I would like to see him throw down a couple of Zealots just to send them forwards and, just harass this position here. Just sort of send them in every which way and just try and block the Terran reinforcements from coming across, because this is a point where Alpha is really going to start to take a powerful position here. He's sitting on 4 bases, going to be 5 mining very, very soon, as his 5th Nexus up to the top right-hand side is just finished up. But we do have what, I thought that was a big force of units pushing up, but no, it's just Titan sacrificing some of his workers. He's realized that it is time to get rid of some of these SCVs. We'll talk about why in just a second, but Alpha got to be able to clean up this base here. Perhaps not the best of timing there from Titan. We do see that there is also a very heavy Zealot run-by now making its way inside the natural base, just trying to just remove some of these units before they can be added into the battle. Of course, the Storm, the Blink Stalkers all soaking up those Vikings very nicely, but the Planetary Fortress stays alive for now, and Alpha is still in a decent position. I do like the position that he's in at the moment, but he's just got to be careful with some of these attacks. Just got to be careful with these Templar. They were left behind, it seems, and those Zealots still doing wonderful amounts of damage inside the natural base. So Alpha has been sort of controlling the tempo in a way, but Titan throwing away a lot of his SCVs. We're talking about what that's for. Well, that's simply because when it gets to this point for a Terran player, you've got your all your production facilities all set up, all of these racks. How many have we got? We've got a total of 12 racks all up and running. So once you've got this kind of situation here where you're moving up to 4 bases, generally 5 is where you see it more when people are playing Bio, but you can move into a position where you can get rid of some of these SCVs. You've got mules for mining out some of those minerals, and this is a position where you can get more and more into your army, and this is how you can take advantage of late game Terran being a very mobile force, being very sort of back and forth. You need to try and sort of flank some of these units. We can see that Templar of Alpha is just sort of sitting off in different positions here. He's doing this quite a lot. He's sort of keeping them segmented from the rest of the forces. He wants to try and keep them away from any ghost EMPs. He still has them very clumped up though, so that is one thing which Alpha does need to keep an eye on. But he has now finished up that 5th base, and he's going to be mining from here very soon. You'll see a couple of assimilators go down, but I'm just a little bit worried about Titan. I would like to see him throw down just another base to keep his economy rolling. It doesn't necessarily have to be all mining and lots of mules and all that kind of stuff, but just actually making sure that he does get a nice amount of follow-up. A bank going is something quite nice for him to have. But we did see a couple of really good EMPs on top of the Colossus, and also quite a lot of the Templar as well, and that has forced Alpha back for the moment. Double scans going down so that Titan can keep an eye on where his opponent is going. He's saying, alright, where is he going? Am I safe to pick up another base? Am I safe to perhaps push up the right-hand side of the map? Well, it seems that he is confident with his position, so he is going to send 2 of the medevacs up the right-hand side. There is another one here. Okay, I think he's Alright, there we go. He's sort of just fixing up his control groups or something there, as two of the Medivacs do look to go for a drop, but the Colossus are now starting to pick up their count. They're up to 5. We've got a lot of Templar here as well. We can see them slowly trailing behind, or a whole bunch of those. He's doing a really high Templar count. It's not often you get to see players just pick up this huge sort of, this huge squad of these Templar. A lot of the time you'll sort of stick with 5, 6, or maybe sort of 7 if you get to that far, but Alpha actually in trouble. Some of his Templar moving across. He does get a final storm thrown down, but unfortunately it was not in time to save the whole crew. Cannon's now finishing up here at the 5th base. It's not going to be in time though. That powerful army is going to do a lot of damage, but unfortunately Alpha is a little bit too quick. We can see the speed observers making their way across, and Titan, well, this has given him a little bit of time. He's now able to push forwards up towards the left-hand side of the map. He's going to keep an eye on where that army is. Okay, they're over here. This means that I've got free reign to push in the left-hand side of the map. It looks as if Titan might try and go for the destruction of quite a lot of the production facilities that Alpha has. Needs to be careful with these Vikings. He's scanning forward and is trying to find out where those Colossi are, but he needs to be so careful. The Blinkstalkers, the Archons, if those Vikings ever group up, then he could be in a lot of trouble, because there is also still a lot of storms available here for the Protoss player. We've got a bunch of these Templar here that were lagging behind, and they're going to keep up. I really like how he's keeping them just a little bit further behind, so that if the EMPs go down, they're never actually going to hit those Templar unless he sort of saves some of them up for, you know, a rainy day. But as you can see, Titan jockeying for position here. This is a very contested part. These two very small choke points could be a key to this game, but a couple of good EMPs do go down. Titan needs to collect those ghosts. I'm not sure why he isn't at the moment, but the Vikings coming in from the backside. Templars raining down thunder all over the Vikings, and it looks as if a lot of the Vikings have gone down, but so have the Colossi. The Templar also almost out of energy. Blinkstalkers will move forward and take down all of the Vikings. What is left over here for Alpha? I tell you what, a wonderful storm, taking out a huge portion of this army's health, and that means that Titan may not be able to commit to this fight. There are still a couple of Templar that have a little bit of energy left over. Titan needs to be extremely careful here. A couple of good snipes until they get feedbacked, and I don't know, whatever the English is for that. But Alpha is still continuing to try and just sort of boost his forces here, bringing in some more from a proxy pylon. There are some Templar. We would like to see where are the extra Colossus. Here they come. But still no Stargate. Is there no Stargate at all? Alright, I'm a little bit surprised about that. I just sort of, as I said, I do like to see people transition into sort of Tempest and Oracles to help out later on in the game. You don't have to go like mass Tempest. I'm not talking about as if it were Brood War, where we got to see carriers as a sort of a massive sort of end game way to win a game. But I mean, even just as like a couple of Tempests to sort of you know, slowly siege at your opponent if you can find out that they're in a position, and just sort of whack them down a little bit with a couple of Tempest shots. But you know, we'll see if he does decide to go down that path. Double Colossus still coming out, so that is going to chew up quite a lot of the gas that Alpha has available to him. But he is now picking up a 6 space across on the right hand side of the map. A couple of cannons here to keep this all protected. Those Blinkstalkers that we saw down on the bottom right hand side were very pesky here. Titan is now starting to struggle for a little bit of minerals. He's only at around about 400, and we say only, but that's simply because at this stage of the game, normally you do see players sort of moving up to a higher base count at this point and banking up quite a lot, as Alpha was a moment ago. But he's now still continuing to bring out those Colossi. +3 on the shields is on the way, and once that kicks in, that is going to be quite helpful for some of these units if they can stay away from the EMPs. Here come the Zealots on the ground. Templar down towards the back. Will there be a storm? It looks like a protective storm, but Alpha's army now slowly pushing through. He's got a few more storms available to him. There's one. The Vikings now moving forwards, going to get easily taken out by the Stalkers here. A couple Colossi still back at home. Alpha, where are the rally points here, my friend? He is going to lose out quite a lot in this battle here. The Ghosts, the Marauders, the Marines, all too strong, as slowly but surely Alpha is pushed away. And a little bit of a waste here with that attack, but he is going to be able to send in some Zealots here and attack into this position. There are a couple of orbital commands just camping out here, and finally we see some of the SCVs transferring across to Titan's bottom right-hand side base. But I mean, at this point, his production is not going to be able to keep up with Alpha. We can see the double Colossi coming out at a time. We'll probably see, like, I would love to see just various warp-ins around the map, just try and draw the Terran out of position. He's currently sitting on 151 supply, 116 of that is in his army right now, only consisting of Marines and Marauders. Of course, there are a lot of Ghosts there as well, but as you can see, Zealots over on the right-hand side, going to get a lot of damage done. There are some extra ones that are here as well. They're just going to try and soak up some of the damage here before the rest of the Terran army can come through, but this all starts to slowly chip into Titan's timing. He's going to have a very hard time dealing with the high Colossus count that Alpha has built up now. We've got 4 that have pushed their way through into the middle of the map. We of course have a couple of reinforcement proxy pylons here as well that can help out with the war pins. There we go, a couple of extra stalkers going to come in just in time. Lots of observers to make sure that he can see where those ghosts are, but this could be the final stand as Alpha prepares to march in here. The army is cornered. Will Titan be able to fight back here? He only has the 7 Vikings that are here, but Alpha actually a little bit out of position with his Templar and also the Stalkers as well, just stacking up storms, and unfortunately quite a lot of them have whiffed as well. If Titan could perhaps rally the troops back together, he may be able to save the day, but holy moly, Colossi and Stalkers and Templar are just ridiculous. When it gets to this point, they are just so powerful. We can see that Alpha still building up quite a lot of his forces now as well. More Archons coming in, but the Vikings are going to rule the sky. They'll take out the Colossi, shooting them down before they are able to finish off the game. Stalkers now moving forward. We can see some Zealots, some Templar also all the way for Alpha here. I think he is going to be able to slowly finish this up. Mules are now going to have to escape to somewhere, but unfortunately there is nowhere to run, nowhere to hide for these guys here. And Alpha assembling some more units over on the left-hand side. We've got some Zealots, we've got extra Colossi that are here as well, and I think that is going to be it here for Titan. He's lifting up all of his command centers and he's going to try and float away to sort of salvage something here. This is a base. I was a little bit confused about him not taking this base, but it is a very susceptible base to attacks here, so I can see why he didn't want to go in that direction. But here come the Zealots. They've got upgrades galore. 333, the Colossi, similar for them as well. The Blink Stalkers, are they going to be able to protect this position here? Looks like the Marines with their own 3-3 are going to push forwards and may be able to take out a couple of these Colossi. This game continuing to go back and forth. The players just sort of being a little bit sloppy at times, throwing away a couple of their units, but also Alpha is still continuing to dominate the ground right now. He's taken out the planetary down at the bottom sort of 5 o'clock position here. Finally that has gone down, and he is going to start to slowly march in. A pincer attack here from the Protoss player with a couple of Colossi, some Zealots, and even some DTs thrown in for good fun. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, Archons, Templar, Blink Stalkers, and Zealots are going to be coming in to assault the right-hand side. Orbital Command goes down. Marines and Marauders going to push in a little bit. They're not going to get too much done, but that is all just a bit of a distraction as Alpha comes in from the right-hand side now as well. GG! And Titan taps out. Hope you all enjoyed that game. It was a interesting PvT, bit of back and forth after a passive opening to the game. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube here at youtube.com/duckvillelol. Also jump on to twitch.tv/duckvillelol. Here, as you can see, 47 damage to bio units and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really nicely there. And for minigun, he's been sticking with a much more